Welcome to the session. Topic of this session is water policy. Water is an important factor of production beside naturals, beside land and other natural resources. And without water, no production activity is possible. Water is important for human being, for maintaining the environmental and ecosystem health. Water is also important for the industrial production. Water is important for all sort of activities, and there are various issues are emerging related to the water utilization in terms of the quantity as well as the quality of the water. The quality of the water is also deteriorating over the period of time. There is a continuous increase in the demand for the water, for the production of activity, for the consumption, for maintaining the environmental health. So basically in this session we are going to discuss about the very issues and challenges in the water utilization, as well as what are the different policy measures which have been implemented for the water sectors, as well as what are the different policy measures which we may need in future to maintain the water resources. Learning objective of this session is to explain the availability of water and irrigation resources, then discuss the issues and challenges in water use in India, and explain the demand for water and need of a national water policy and policy measures. So, agriculture is the largest user of the water at the global level. Around 70% of water is used for irrigation, and in some of the countries like developing countries, up to 95% of the water is used for irrigation purpose for agriculture production activity. So, the agriculture development activity is basically depend on the availability of water, availability of the irrigation infrastructure. So, maintaining and improving or expanding the irrigation infrastructure is very important. Even in the green revolution, we use the high yielding variety and chemical fertilizer, but the irrigation infrastructure was major component. We have seen that the green revolution was basically promoted in the Indo-Gangetic plain, where there was a abundant water resources were there. So water is very important for agriculture development, and now the agriculture sector is facing a competitive competition from the other sectors of the economy for the water use, like industries or household sectors. They are giving lot of competition in the in sharing the water resources. Here we can see the water demand in India, and there are two types of the projected water demand available, and one is given by the Standing Subcommittee of Ministry of Water Resources, and another estimates for projected water requirement was given by the National Commission on Integrated Water Resource Development, and basically they have identified the projected demand for irrigation purpose, for drinking water purpose, for industry purpose, for energy production purpose, for other sectors, and also they have given the total water requirement. So here you can see over the period of time the requirement, the projected demand for water is increasing over the period of time. Like if you see the figure given by the Standing Committee of Ministry of Water Resources, the projected demand for water for irrigation purpose in the year 2025 is 910 billion cubic meter, which increased to 1072 billion cubic meter in 2050. In similar manner, the demand for drinking water is also increasing over the period of time, and the industrial demand is also increasing. There is a lot of increase in the water demand for energy production. So in the year 2025, the projected demand for energy sector is 15 billion cubic meter, which increased to 113 billion cubic meters. So there is a large increase for water requirement in energy sectors, other sectors. So there are The total demand, projected demand, the given by the Standing Committee of Ministry of Water Resources, you can see here, in the year 2025 is 1093 billion cubic meter, which will be increased to 1447 billion cubic meter in the year 2050. So around more than 1.5 times increase in the water demand over the 25 years of time. So there is a continuous increase in the water demand over the period of time. And here we can see the water availability in India. Like we have the annual precipitation, including the snowfall, that is 4,000 billion cubic meters, and in the availability, annual availability of the water, it is 1,869 billion cubic meter. And when we talk about in terms of the per capita availability, in the year 2001, it was 1,816 cubic meters, and that has increased to around 1,816 in the that was a figure in the 2001, and that in the 2015 this figures reached to 1,720 cubic meter, that is the per capita availability. So there is a change in the availability of water, and there is a decline actually in the availability of water in the over the period of time. And then estimated utilizable water resources which is available in the country, that is 1,123 billion cubic meter, and we have the surface water resources, that is 690 billion cubic meter, and there is a groundwater resources we have, that is 433 billion cubic meter, and this figure is given by the Central Water Commission in the year 2015. And when we talk about the rainfall, we have 400 million hectares total rainfall in the country, and the most of the rain from the southwest monsoon in the country. And then we have surface water resources, that is from the river basically. So catchment area is around 252 million hectares, and annual potential of the surface water is 1,869 cubic meter. And then we have the water bodies and storage structure, area of 7 million hectare, including the rivers and canals. We have the water bodies and storage, and the groundwater resources we have, that is basically replenishable groundwater potential we have, that is 43 million hectares. So water is very important. It is required to maintain the human health. It also required to maintain the environmental health. Then basically it help in this production functions. Basically two type of production we have, the biomass production and the economic production. So biomass production means supply of the foods, fuel, fuel wood, the timber. So that is basically agriculture or forest production. Then we have the economic production like industrial product development. So for that water is also very important. Without the water, both the activity cannot be possible. Then the water is basically also help in carrying functions like diluting and transpiration of the the wastage. Then also it is a natural erosion and land process of the global water cycle. Then water also have psychological function, because water bodies, when we see the water bodies, it gives some water views, they give some kind of satisfaction, psychological, the motivation and satisfaction, like fountains of human preference and desires. And the many religious activity we do, we need the water. Then cultural activity also we need water. So it provides a lot of functions. It has a lot of importance in the human health, in the environmental health, in the production activity. It also gives the psychological advantage to the human being. And we have different water policies in the country, and basically all the water policy revolve around certain objectives, and the most of the policies they have some common objectives, and common objective water policy are basically to have the efficient and effective use of water, because water is basically a precious resource, it is very important. And also the policies have the objective to improve and safeguard the existing drinking water supply. Whatever drinking supply we are having, we should improve them, we should have we have to protect them. Then the policy also have importance to manage the water demand across the competing sectors, like we have demand from the agriculture sector, we have demand from the industrial sector, we have demand for household sector. So we have to manage the demand from these sectors, and then also the objective is to determine the environmental requirement, and also to prevent the pollution. And there are various issues emerging in the safe and proper use of the water. There are different challenges are there, like resources under pressure. The water resource is under pressure because there is a lot of demand from the different sectors, and the water availability is limited. There is no chance to increase because it is a natural process. And the population under water stress, the populations, the people, they are not getting sufficient water, the potable water, the for water for other purposes, for maintaining their households. So that is also very much a challenge to provide the sufficient water to the people. And then securing water for people and for food production. So here we need lot of water for the production of agriculture commodities, particularly the cereal, the other oilseed, pulses, all the crops need water. And developing other job creating activities. So if we want to start some industry, we need water, and so for that also we have to provide sufficient water. And the protecting vital ecosystem, it is one of the important challenge. We have to maintain the ecosystem, abiotic factors in the ecosystem, so that we maintain this ecological system, the environmental system. Then also there is a challenge in dealing with the variability of water in time and space, and we are observing that in some of the area and the very high rain, some of the area deficit rain is there, and some of the time very suddenly the good rainfall is there, but in some time there is no rainfall, so there is a lot of variability is there. And so we have to challenge, we have to maintain this, we have to cope up with this variability. Then creating popular awareness and understanding is also important challenge, because we have to make aware our population. We need to sensitize the population that water is scarce resources, it cannot increase, we have to use in very judicious way. And then there is also challenge to ensure collaboration across sectors and across boundaries, because there are the competitive use under different sectors, and sometimes there are different countries or different states, they are some conflict on the water resources, so we have to maintain that there is a proper collaboration, so there is no fight between the sectors and between different states and different countries. There is a challenges for water resource management. We have to maintain all the water resource in proper manner. So there are different issues in the water utilization. There are challenges in the water utilization. So there is a need for a national water policies, and basically we need to have national water policy because of certain region, like the planning and development of water resources need to be governed by the national perspective, because we have different states, there are sometimes some conflict between the states, so that's why we need to bring some national perspective in the water utilization. So that's why there is a need for national policy. Then the proper water planning is needed, because in the precipitation is compared to only about 3 to 4 months in a year, so the rainfall is only for 3 to 4 months. Then there is a large variation in the rainfall, that is around 10 centimeter in the desert area of Rajasthan to the 1000 centimeter in the Cherrapunji. So there is a large variation in the rainfall, the precipitation. Then the limited availability of usable water, there is a rainfall is there, we have sufficient resources, but the availability of this usable water is very limited. So that's why we need to have proper water planning. That's why we need a national water policy. And the management of drought and flood is very common practice in our day. So actually we need to have a coordinated and guided action at the national level, because it is not only an issue in a particular state or particular region. Sometimes the effect across the state. So that's why we need to have national policy to properly manage the drought and floods. And the irrigations project, basically they are planned and implemented at the state level, but they involve various issues related to the environmental protection, the rehabilitation, the public health issues are there, water impoundment is there, dam safety is there. So there are various issues when the states they plan or implement the state level irrigation project, and that's why there is a the common approach is required, and the common guidelines are required to guide the states to plan the irrigation project. And there is increasing demand for the water for diverse purposes, like due to growth process and the expansion of the economic activities. There is a large requirement demand from the industrial sector or the economic sectors, and there is also increasing demand for the agricultural food production system, because we need to provide food to the large number of the people. Population is increasing, so we need to produce more food. So more water is also required for agriculture sector, and there is demand for domestic and industrial water need is also increasing, even due to change in the lifestyle of the people. The demand for water for the household purpose is also increasing over the period. And the water quality is another important factor which need for a national water policy. Actually we need to eliminate the pollution of the surface and groundwater resources. We need to improve the water quality, and actually we need to motivate or promote the recycling and reuse of the water. For that, basically we need to improve there is improvement in required the existing strategy or existing policy, and actually we need to promote the new techniques based on the strong science and technology, particularly for the recycling and reuse of the water. And for such purpose we need to have the national water policy. And basically the country adopted various measures for the water and irrigation development in the country. And the basically country followed a macro planning or intersectoral policies for water development, which favored basically the mix of small and large project for a large irrigation project, large dam basically. And they basically also promote the surface water and ground water development, recharging of the groundwater, or creating of the dam or irrigation projects. And also the macro policies, basically they have promoted the lift irrigation or the gravity irrigation. So the various measures have been adopted to make available the irrigation water. And basically this is a complex process, and it is involve the complex problem of operations and maintenance, and financial sustainability is very important. And for that purpose we need to have the different policy changes which basically favor the the increased water prices and water use association. So we have adopted that there should be some water prices, or we need to create the market for the water, and also we need to involve the community for maintaining the operation of the water management. To maintain or to provide the financial stability, we need to promote the community participation in the water resource management. So the concept of water users associations were started in the country. And also there are different measures were adopted, like to improve the irrigation organization and the procedure followed by the organization. So actually the measures were adopted to have the more efficient administrative system to maintain the irrigation department. So actually they need to have the interdisciplinary or specialized activities such as the irrigation management or project construction and planning and design. So interdisciplinary approach is followed in the administration of the irrigation resources or particularly the irrigation department. And actually the concept were also brought under the policy that the groundwater rights for optimum utilization may be provided to the people. Now we will move to the national water policy. Actually we had a different water policy, like we had the policy in 1987, then it has improved, amended in the year 2002, and then we have actually the more amended or more holistic policy in the year 2002, in the year 2012, that is the national water policy. And here basically the national water policy 2000, they identified some issues in the water utilization, like they have identified that there is a rapid increase in the demand for water due to the population growth, due to the urbanization, due to the changing lifestyles, and water governance is another important issue. There is a mismanagement of the water resources. Whatever the resources we have in the country, we are not able to manage them properly, and there is a wide temporal and spatial variations in the the rainfall or precipitations, and particularly they are more now because of the climate change and the water related disaster is there in the country. And also we have the national water policies, they have identified that there is inequitable exploitation of groundwater. In some of the area there is over exploitation of the groundwater that is causing a disaster. The land is become dry in that area. There is no agriculture possible because of water level is depleting very fast in some of the area. And the national policy on water also identifying there is a inter-regional, interstate, intrastate, intersectoral dispute in the sharing of water. Many states they are fighting in the court to have the control of the water resources. So actually another problem is identified by the national water policy is that there is inadequate maintenance of the existing irrigation infrastructure. There is a lot of wastage or underutilization of available resources sometimes, and the encroached upon or blocking of groundwater recharge zone is another problem. And the groundwater resource, they have been occupied by some illegal housing colonies. So there are a lot of problems. So there is less groundwater recharges. Then low public consciousness about the overall scarcity and the economic value of the water. People are not aware about the scarcity. They also don't know about the economic importance of the water. So all these issues were identified by the national water policy. So after identifying these issues, the government of India, they have brought national water policy in the year 2012. That is very holistic approach to management and development of water resources. And basically this policy adopted a common integrated perspective in planning, development and management of water resources, considering the local, regional, state and national context, and the principle of equity and social justice in the use and allocation of water followed, and the good governance through the transparent and informed decision making process was also recommended under the National Water Policy 2012. And there are different components in the National Water Policy 2012, like the use of water. They have recommended many things. That is one of the component of the National Water Policy 2012. This policy recommended about the optimal water utilization and awareness on the scarcity, there is importance, and then access to minimum and quantity of potable water. They determine the ecological need of rivers, and they considered for development of navigation that are different use of the water. Then This policy also talk about the adaptation to the climate change and basically adaptation to the increased variability in the precipitation. So, the policy recommended about the climate resilient technological options at the micro levels, and they also highlighted the importance of stakeholder participation in the land soil water management. Then they have recommended something on the enhancing water availability for the use, like direct use of rainfall, desalinization and avoidance of inadvertent evapotranspiration, and then arresting the declining groundwater level in the overexploited area. Then they have recommended for the interbasin transfers of water and the interlinking of the river, then integrated watershed development activities they have highlighted. And they have also recommended about the demand management and water use efficiency. So, they have brought the concept of the water footprints and water auditing in the country. Then they have recommended for recycle and reuse of the water, and they also recommended for the project financing to incentivize the efficient and economic use of the water, and water saving in the irrigation purpose or irrigation use they have recommended. And water pricing concept were brought by the national water policy. So, basic purpose is to have the efficient use and also to reward the conservation of the water. And then the policy recommended about the adopting the principle of differential pricing, and they have given the freedom to water use association to fix the rate. And then the committee recommended about the conservation of river water bodies infrastructure. Basically they said that it should be maintained, it should be planned in the scientific manner through community participation, and basically we should not allow the encroachment and diversion of water bodies. And basically the policy recommended for stringent punitive action for polluting water bodies. And project planning and implementation was another component of this policy. So, according to this, the all clearances for the development of the water resources to be made in the time bound manner, and we have to do the proper monitoring. And actually the local governing body or water user association, they need to be promoted for water planning and the project planning. And the management of flood and drought, basically they have recommended, they have given the emphasis on the preparedness for the flood and drought, and they recommended for the integrated farming system. And for water supply and sanitation, they have recommended improving the water supply in the rural area with proper sewage facilities, then rain water harvesting and desalinization in the urban areas, and for the in the industrial area, and subsidies and incentives for recycling and reuse also adopted. And the water dispute management, permanent water dispute tribunal at the center should be established. This was one of the recommendation. And actually the policy also recommended for the transboundary rivers, international agreement for sharing of data and management of water, that should be there. And database and information should be developed for, National Water Informatics Center should be established to collect and to process the hydrologic data. And research and training need also required in the water sector to address the issue in the water sector in scientific manner. Autonomous center for research in the water policy should be there, and actually we should provide the regular training and academic courses for the water management. And for implementation of national water policy 2012, and national water board should prepare a plan of action based on the national water policy and approved by the National Water Resource Council, and to regularly monitor the implementation of the water project. And state water policy may need to be drafted, revised in accordance with this policy. This was also recommendation for implementation. And basically the state water policy should follow the basic concern and principle as also in a unified national perspective. And we can sum up this session that the demand for water is increasing, Agriculture, which is the largest consumer of water, is facing competition from other water usage like industries and household sectors. And water is important for maintaining human and environmental health, supporting the production activities or for other purpose. And there are issues related to water utilization in terms of both quantity and the quality. There is a need for national water policy to implement in the country. National Water Policy 2002 were brought after amendment in the water policy of 1987 and 2000. And basically it is a holistic policy, follow a common and integrated perspective, and also treat water as a economic good. Thank you very much.